This is the triple Qs on the 5-minute time frame. Here are your price targets for Tuesday. We ended the day at $454.46, up 1.29%. To the north side takes us to one level of resistance and a potential take profit area at 455.78. Another level of resistance and 3 standard deviations takes us to roughly 458.87. And above that, roughly 462.07. To the south side, the baseline and the middle of the trend, and in this case, support, takes us to 449.49. I will anticipate a possible bounce off of this line. If we continue to go south, -2 standard deviations, which is another level of support and another potential buy-in area, 443.13. 439.96 roughly, and 436.85. The reason I wanted to go over this ticker is because this gap that I've been tracking closed. So let me clean this up. This gap right here, I have no idea when the gap will close, so I just extend it out and continue to watch it. And it closed on Friday, taking us down to 451.47. So if you shorted to the south side there, congratulations if you made some money. And that is no longer in play, so I will delete the price label. That gap opened up on roughly Monday the 12th. And this gap closed that I've already talked about, and that is at 463.66 roughly. Now, the next gap that I am tracking is this gap. It started on roughly the 8th of August. We are in a downward trend on the 5-minute time frame. So if we continue to go south, this could potentially touch on Tuesday. So just be aware of that. We could touch with this line here at -2 standard deviations. And that will take us to roughly 439.81, closing out at roughly 435.54. And to the north side, there's a potential gap that will take us to 496.07. We are not in the channel, not in the zone, not even close, just something to be aware of. But as you can see, all we have done is retrace this area. So if we make it to this level, I will anticipate a bounce as people buy the dip. And I don't know why I marked that out, so I will delete that. And if you take this to, let's say, the daily time frame, okay, my chart looks like a hot mess because I've tracked this for a long time and I need to clean this up, but I haven't. So one potential area is this that I just talked about. And then we are at, on the daily, notice the daily, we are in an upward channel. So you're going to get different buy and sell signals depending upon what channel you are trading in. And this closed out, this closed out, that closed out. I should draw that. No, that I did draw that out. Okay, that looks good. And this area, let me just delete this. That's the Fibonacci retracement. While I like to track it, I don't use it for trading. And I know people will unsubscribe to me when I say that. Just like when I say I don't use moving averages, the golden death cross, the golden retriever cross, whatever. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. I do none of that. I just play the standard deviation, and that is good enough for me. It has served me well, learning how to trade that way. And whenever I do talk about that, people don't like it. But that's why you have to find a trading style that works for you. We have tons of targets to the south side because we've run up so much on the triple Qs. So we will consolidate and go sideways and barcode possibly. But right now we are at support. So I will anticipate once we close out this gap, we could go up. And then these lines on the way up turn into resistance, and on the way down, they turn into support. So we could stair step this up, but there's this that will haunt us to the south side. Okay, but not in the channel, not in the zone yet. And if you play it on the 5-minute, you can see the progression very easily. Okay, that's enough there. I'm going to go to NIO. I talked about this on Sunday for my gap and go. This is the daily time frame. As you can see, I've marked this out like crazy. I think I've tracked this for the last 40 weeks, I think. And I saw, there were a lot of gaps, and I love looking at gaps because it's a potential to either go down or to go up, and it helps me decide where I think price is going to go. So all I do is look at the gaps, I look at the price target, and that is my guide. I don't look at volume. I know I shouldn't say these things to you. I know how to look at volume. I know how to use the RSI. I know how to use the MACD. I know how to use the Bollinger Bands, those things, but I don't have time for that. All right. So I'm going to give you the price targets for NIO. So for NIO, congratulations again. We were up 10.96%, and we ended the day at 557. Now I'm going to give you the price targets first. So here we are at 577, one level of resistance, 586, 596. And this is the middle of the trend where price slices through to get to the downside or to the upside. This is its resting place. If you think of that as just where price will go, and then if you draw a line out, wherever the middle of the trend is, we could consolidate going sideways. But to the south side, one level of support is 540. Turn on your VWAP. That'll help you also get different levels. 530, your trend lines, whatever you like to do. 521. I just like to keep it very simple. Now, I also turned on the bots for the buy and sell signals. So clear buy signals for me are anywhere along the red line, the red, the white, and the blue lines. Red, white, and blue. I've color coded to make it easy for me. And clearly, look at the trigger. The buy trigger came on. Oh, I need to clean this up because this gap touched that I talked about. So that is no longer in play. That took us down to 485, retracing back to this area where the gap was created. It formed right here. So I anticipated it to close itself out. It's like Mother Nature. It just kind of writes itself, and that's what this gap just did. So that's good, no longer haunting us to the south side. And as far as other potential gaps, we've got, what do we have here? This gap has not closed down to 417, but note on the 5-minute time frame, we are going, as I mentioned on Sunday, in an upward channel, moving farther away from these gaps to the south side. This is a long-term thing to get down here because we are going straight up. So I will sometimes see these things and put in a buy order 60 days out for the next 60 days. And then I don't have to think about it. But if you see this, we went sideways, we consolidated, started to move up, grinding up, and this is what I anticipate will happen. We'll go up, and then we're just going to correct ourselves and balance this side out to create this side of the hill, and then consolidate, and then go back up again. But that's long term. I just take it one day at a time. looking at this, support and resistance. That's all I like to do. And then when I buy for long term, I like to buy it on the monthly time frame, trolling for the monthly with the RSI at 40 and below, preferably 30 and below, but sometimes you never get there. And the next potential upside on this is, where are we? Let me go to let's go to the 15 because I can't see everything here. Where is the next gap? Oh, let me just go back to the hour. Oh, right here. There's this gap. Right here. That has not closed out on the hourly. That will take us back up to 27.17, if you can believe that. Yeah, this thing has tanked, cratered. The 1 year price target is now 671, which represents a 20.44% return from where we are. Back to the 5 minute, option R to reset. Okay, I'm done with that. Let's go to a trade that I got kicked out of today. I was kind of bummed about it, but this is what happened. First, I'm going to give you the price targets. I've been in and out of this trade many times, so I'll go over that. But first, let's put the price label on, get myself organized. So this is where we ended, up 11.39%. We ended at 714. One level of resistance takes us to 725, 744, and 761. To the south side, back at the middle of the trend and the baseline. 690, 654, 636, and 618. Those are your levels of support. Obviously, again, many levels in between. Now, this gap that I talked about, this gap formed on September 9th, which is, that's today. We shot up. And why did we shoot up? I have no idea. Let's read about this. Cannabis. So funny. Cannabis. Oh yeah, that's because I'm doing MSOS. For a moment, I was thinking I was doing NIO again. Ignore what I just said. But we ran today with the cannabis, the marijuana stocks, because marijuana stocks climb after Trump claims support for cannabis reform. So, yay for this sector. But you know what? We always run and then we give it back. We run and then we give it back because MSOS and a bunch of these other ones have been up and down, whipping us around. So this gap takes us down to, let's move this because you got to be 1 over from the price line or this thing gets wonky. You can't do it on that one with the magnet turned on. Just a heads up. So that will take us to 642. So that's still doable because we are in the range of -2 and 2 standard deviations. And when you turn on the buy and sell bot, you clearly will be in and out of trades way more often. I don't buy like that. I buy again down on these lines and then resistance I could potentially sell out, or what I do is I mark out where 10% is on the return and I get out. It just depends on what my goal is. So note the sell-off here at resistance. Resistance down here at support triggered the buy zone. And I have not looked at this for a while. So clearly I have not cleaned up my chart. This needs to be cleaned up and we touched that one to the south side at 603, and look at this. We were at one level of support and the rip. All right, all the pink lines, the light pink lines, I've changed something up, but the light pink lines, I have sold out of that position in the past, and the green lines are my sell lines. And it's hard to see this, but I was tracking this gap to the upside, okay, at 705. I set my sell order at 706. And when I set this sell order, I'm looking way in advance, trying to hit 2 standard deviations or 3 or 4. And I set a target and then I forget about it. I set it and I forget it. And unfortunately, I've been busy. I haven't looked at it thoroughly to reset my sell order. So I got stopped out. I hit my limit at 706. This puppy ran, oh my gosh, to 724. Okay, so had I stayed in where I bought this at 629, at 724, that's a 15% return. I lost like 3%, but that's okay. I bought it here and got off the gravy train. Now, when this thing comes back to reality, I'm just going to put an order in for 642 or maybe 641. But this is what will happen is this will turn into support and then grind. It's not going to do one fell swoop and then get us out. Oh no, this thing is going to shake you around and make you work to get to 642. Okay, so now I will clean up this chart. We touched right there where I put this price label. So let's just make it even messier. And then I had to change my color so it wouldn't get confusing. I know this looks confusing to many people, but I know exactly what everything is. So this was my sell line, 1 penny above the gap fill. And previously I sold this at 695, and I'll show you this. Let's take this on the daily time frame. Okay, this looks like a hot mess because the charts have changed thanks to TradingView. You know what? I can't even do this. Let me just go to the month. Well, no. I am in this trade for myself and for my mom, and all the pink lines, the previous, again, buy lines, the greens are sell lines, okay? But on the daily, we are right here. It's hard to see, but we ended at 714. Okay, we're right here. So, to the north side, at the middle of the trend in the big picture on the daily, that will take us back to $8.60. And if we go down, 604. Yeah, I'm glad Trump made a decision on this because we were just waiting to take off, because we know that Mrs. Word Salad, Kamala Harris, has already supported this sector and approves cannabis. I'd rather be hanging around a pot smoker all day long than an alcoholic, by far. So I'm happy with this because I don't do drugs, but I like to trade the drug. And this thing gives me a headache. Marijuana gives me the biggest headache. Ugh, can't stand being around it. All right, but I'll make money off of it. Okay, so that's done. And then I want to do Apple very quickly because Apple just launched the new watch, 22091. I talked about this during my Gap and Go video as well. So on Sunday, I talked about this, and then we fell to support for a buy-in. This turns into resistance, triggered the sell, busted through, came back down to reality, and then, like, here's a little W if you play patterns. Okay, so this is where we are. So from here to here was a 1.93% return. For one day, beats putting it in the bank at 0.001% interest. No, thank you. Okay, first, your targets. 223.31, 225.02, 226.80, baseline 219.87. Unfortunately, to the south side, 216.46, 214.69, and 212.98. Okay, this gap closed. What am I looking at for Apple here? Let's go to the 1 hour. Okay. So we are at 220.91 right there. To the south side will take us to, and we are still going down on the 1 hour, 209.93, and then to the upside, because we're at the middle of the trend. And when we fell down, went back up, went down, this is support down here, this is resistance. So we got to bust through this area. Let me move this out. But that's 221.77. Here's a gap to the upside that will take us to 234.61. Very nice. That's in the big picture though. That has not closed out. That's a target. So if I know there's this open wound up here, when we get closer, or maybe down here, I would buy in and set it and forget it. Okay, we've got all these landmines to the south side. And we're not in the channel, not in the zone, but when we get close, I will definitely talk about that. Something to be aware of right here. And the 1 year price target is 247.22, which represents an 11.91 or almost 12% return. I'm up considerably with this ticker. Okay, I'm done. Oh no, I want to show you Apple. One quick thing. It went up 0.04%. So obviously the watch really didn't move it today. Maybe it'll move it tomorrow, but I have a watch. I never wear it. But apparently this is super thin. It starts at $399. And why does it say September 20? But apparently it's already being sold. It debuted. So it looks pretty nice. But again, I don't really wear mine, so I will not be getting this. But I hope you guys get it. It'll support my stock. I love it. Very cool. Titanium polished to perfection. Apparently this thing has something that you could click to help you with sleep apnea, but I guess you could do that also on the Apple Watch 9. Maybe there's an upgrade, I don't know. Health upgrades from sleep tracking to heart health notifications and much more. The advanced sensors in the Series 10 help you better understand your health. Fit for anything. Yeah, very nice. Okay. Now the other thing I want to track very quickly, let me reset this, is the NQ, the E-mini futures. For those of you who like to trade options. Okay, this is a moving target. And see, you can see it change on you, but right here, we hit support. I'm going to give you targets. I shouldn't even mark this as a price label because the minute I mark it, it's going to change, but I got to start somewhere, okay? So here we go. 18,682. This was your buy line. Resistance is at 18,713. The next level of resistance, 18,789, 18,829, and 18,865 to the south side, 18,597, and another level of support, 18,559. So that's the NQ, the E-mini futures. And then, what is there another one that people like to look at? No, that's not it. I take that back. Let's just end it here with a look back at Apple. Oh, wait a minute, Palantir. Oh, I got to do Palantir because I love this ticker. All right. As I mentioned before, Palantir to me is like Apple and Microsoft and Tesla when I bought in a long time ago with those companies. So this is like the only other ticker that I put on that level. Apple, Microsoft, Tesla, Palantir. So we ended the day at 34.60. Here are your price targets, up 14%. And we ran today because Palantir, as you probably already know, got included on the S&P 500. So finally, and they also included Dell and another company. I forget the name of it. And they removed, they removed Alaska. Was it Alaska? Let me just look, because now I'm curious. No, I don't remember. Anyway, here's the article on Palantir. Surged after logging its best one-day rally since February following news of the company's inclusion in the index. And the airline stock here recovering from last month. I do not like to buy airline. That's too volatile. I already do some small cap and penny stocks, and that's enough for me. Okay, 34.60, up 14.08% to the north side, takes us to 35.89. 37.16. 38.40 to the south side, baseline, middle of the trend, takes us, I was thinking, see where we're grinding. Yeah. Well, consolidating more, like trying to grind up, just going sideways until we got some good news. You never know, if we get good news, we go to the moon, and then we get bad news. And if you get bad news, just think of it as a potential opportunity on a good stock to buy in at a better price. To the south side, 33.37. 30.90. 29.64 and 28.40. I haven't checked Palantir on my account, but the last time I checked, I was up like 79%, I think. So that's pretty good. I'm happy with that. Can't complain. That gap will take us down to 30.45. It opens up at roughly 32.46. And, so there was this gap that I was tracking. That was a pullback and an opportunity to get in. And I have not tracked Palantir in a little bit, but this gap clearly closed. If you go on to a different time frame, you can see that better. See how it touched right here? So again, when I draw it out, I never know when it's going to touch. So it's important you close it out so that way you know it is no longer a target. So that closed out at roughly 29.37-ish. And all we did in the big picture is we went up at resistance, even on the 15, boom, flushing down. We don't always hit these lines, and then the bot clearly told you to even buy because we hit support, or at least one level of support. Okay, in the big picture, we do have this gap, this open wound that will haunt us to the south side, but we're slowly moving away from it. If we tank, you can bet this will get eaten up at 24.18. That one's done. And then to the north side, I don't know, do I have any gaps open? I'm going to have to look at this later in the big picture. I've rambled on long enough, so here are some of my bylines. All right, that's it. So that is a look at the triple Qs, NIO, MSOS, NQ, and I also threw in Apple and Palantir. If there's a ticker that you would like me to go over, please let me know, and have a great trading day.